couple spontaneous comments. After listening to Ben, I'm wondering why I didn't go to Pitzer. And second, graduates, if you ever had any doubt, ever in your whole life, about how much these people loved you, I urge you to look at them now and see the sweat and the red faces. They are melting for you. That's how much they love you. It is an indescribable honor, actually, truthfully, to be here with you today, class of 2008. It's an even greater honor that you extended the invitation to me to come and be your commencement speaker before what I somewhat self-importantly refer to as Monstergate. And I'm especially grateful to you for not rescinding the invitation after I opened my big mouth and became a global villain for the day. Not something I recommend as you go forward in your careers. If you ever needed evidence that even college graduates never grow up, they just get more sophisticated at disguising their inner child, I offer that evidence to you in advance of my commencement speech. So thank you for standing by your very humbled commencement speaker. Since I graduated from college in 1992, way back in 1992, I've been blessed to have been a part of some pretty momentous causes. Yet I count as the greatest privileges of my life, in fact, sunny days like this one, where I have the chance to deliver a commencement address. I take this responsibility very seriously, and I consider it a great act of trust on the part of a student body and a faculty and a president toward a stranger. So thank you again. Now that I have raised expectations about how seriously I take this exercise, let me add a qualifier. Be wary today and every other day of anybody who claims to have specialized knowledge on the way things should turn out in your lives or in the world. I was in Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium, both, strangely. You'll understand why in a second. Back in October 2004, during the beginnings of your freshman year, when the Red Sox came back from a 3-0 deficit in the playoffs to vanquish the New York Yankees and the curse, and to win their first World Series in 86 years. The experts said it couldn't be done, but the experts knew history. They knew that no baseball team had ever come back from 3 games down in a series. The experts knew things, but they didn't know those Boston Red Sox. I was in Darfur, Sudan that same year, where refugees begged me to bring their stories back to the United States so the US government would act. They pleaded for humanitarian aid to be delivered, for the leading killers in Sudan to be prosecuted, and for peacekeepers to be sent to protect civilians. The experts again said it couldn't be done. They said that governments traditionally pursue their national interess, that the US government was too busy with Al-Qaeda, with North Korea, with Iraq, of course, and with Afghanistan, to worry about what they called mere humanitarian issues. The experts knew things, but they didn't know that Save Darfur chapters would spring up on 500 college campuses across the nation. They didn't know that ordinary people in America would create, believe it or not, a 1-800 genocide number so that citizens could be more easily linked with their members of Congress. They didn't know that students would actually begin giving members of Congress genocide grades, drawing on their own experience on campuses, so that Senate staffers and congressional staffers would run around trying to move their member of Congress from a D to a B- in advance of an election. They didn't know that students on this campus would organize a concert that would raise $7,000 for refugees in Darfur. And they certainly didn't know that this movement would generate such political pressure that the United States would spend more than $3 billion at a time of very difficult financial overstretch, keeping those refugees that I met with alive. They didn't know that the International Criminal Court would in fact indict the leading war criminals, and a peacekeeping force would in fact be authorized as they begged. There is far more left to do in Darfur and elsewhere, but if citizens had deferred to the conventional wisdom about what was doable, many more people in Darfur would no longer be with us. Back in 2005, the following year, I was minding my own business in my office in Boston when I received an email from the office of a certain junior senator from Illinois, inviting me to drop by to discuss his vision for fixing American foreign policy. A one-hour meeting with this man, Barack Obama, turned into such a staggering 4-hour tutorial, I was the student, he the teacher, that I decided then and there to leave my job at Harvard and move to Washington to volunteer in his office. And I did that, in fact. I have been open-mouthed, or what the Irish call gobsmacked, ever since, as I've watched the race between Senator Obama and Senator Clinton electrify the nation. Again, the experts said it couldn't be done. They said men would never vote for a woman, but they did. They said that white Americans weren't ready for an African American, but they are. They said that young people, like you, would talk a good game, but they wouldn't get their acts together to register to vote and to go ahead and vote. But you did. The experts knew things. They knew things, but they didn't know today's America. And they certainly didn't know your generation of young people. Again and again in history, the experts have proven wrong. Yet if the Red Sox, the Darfur activists, or Obama had deferred to these experts, history would have turned out very differently. Experts deal in probabilities, but you all have the chance to decide on possibilities and make those possibilities real. So how do you begin to think about doing that? I'd like to offer 5 suggestions. First, as you figure out your path in life, try to follow your nose. I had classmates in college who decided by the time we graduated what they wanted to be on this earth, what they wanted to grow up to be. A Tony Award-winning actor, a congressman by the age of 30, one said, the broker of an India-Pakistan peace deal. These folks were unbelievably determined and very, very polished. They had amassed thick Rolodexes and devised detailed flowcharts indicating how they would get to their self-designated promised lands. They knew their end states and would have given Machiavelli a good run for his money in reaching their goals. I have students like this too. A young man came into my office not long ago and said, "I want your life." This is before Monstergate. I want to write books and magazine articles, and I want to get to know a presidential candidate. My response was, "You so don't want my life." Now, don't get me wrong, I love my life, but this student knew that life only in silhouette. He knew nothing of my many missteps, though he would soon learn, of the internal struggles, of the constant trade-offs, and he knew nothing of how I set out on a path hoping to do one thing and then ended up doing something radically different. He only knew the box score. But just as one cannot decide in advance to win a baseball game by a score of 6-3, one cannot script a precise professional destination.